a treasure trove of information came out of this gigantic hack from Game Freak, the developers behind Pokemon, over the past weekend. And, well, it's a little bit more than just simple day-to-day business operations over there at the Pokemon Company. It's a little bit more in-depth than that, but frankly, there was some interesting stuff to come out of it, including release dates being moved around to facilitate the successor to the Nintendo Switch, and also an internal codename for the Switch too. All makes for some interesting, albeit not terribly noteworthy information, but on top of that, well, I've seen these hacks trend, and there was some interesting reason for these trends, and a certain Pokemon popping up because of it, and it's like, okay, what do we got here? So I just thought, hey man, if it's gonna be something a little bit off the beaten path, might as well go to Kotaku and see what their take on this is, because it's sure to be the most degenerate. So without further ado, this might be the biggest hack in Pokemon history. A Gen 10 detail. Holy, we're on the 10th generation, huh? It's kind of crazy. Unused Pokemon designs, Switch 2 codename, and more has seemingly leaked. Alright. Pokemon maker Game Freak suffered a massive data breach that saw employee info as well as tons of details about past games and upcoming sequels stolen from the developer. Fans are calling this a leaked data, the Terra leak, as insider accounts pour over everything from unused Pokemon designs to codenames for the Switch 2, and the consequences of the malicious hack ripple across the internet. And yeah, when we're normally talking about malicious hacks, we're referring to Kotaku. The unprecedented data breach was discovered over the weekend as the data was leaked online. Pokemon insiders and leak hunter accounts on social media began poring over the contents, reportedly finding, among other things, the codename for the Switch 2, Ounce. But I've also seen it referred to as Project Omnibus, which is, we can at least get a little bit more information on that, because I guess, and looking at other patents that are out there, Nintendo potentially trying to reintroduce themselves into the VR market 30 years after their last failed attempt. But if you're going to be going and following up the Switch with a hands-free successor, yeah, I don't really think that's going to end up working out well. You're going to move once again from a hot hand that you had with the Wii and moving it off to the Wii U if you're going to be doing a VR console. But we'll see what happens, because I would imagine like more information on the Switch 2 probably coming out of a Nintendo Direct either by the end of the year or the beginning of next. But all in due time, we'll talk about that then. Then more from the Terra leak, relation to Gen 10 Pokemon games reportedly codenamed Gaia. Okay, Pokemon Legends ZA is the next officially announced game in the series, set to arrive in 2025. And yeah, that was basically where I thought most of the leaks were, and I wasn't even going to talk about this because, yeah, okay, cool. Got new Mega Evolutions, which is what? Because didn't they have Gigantamax or Gigamax forms for Gens 8 and 9? But because this is coming back to, what is this, Gen 6 with X and Y, it's like none of this stuff really makes sense. And if you thought Pokemon was convoluted before, now you're just dropping more information that's trying to win back fans of the franchise that dropped off when the series was arguably at its weakest, chasing around a convoluted legendary that's never achieved its full form in its original game. Like, I don't know, man, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and following up some incredibly poorly received games with something even more contrived and convoluted, you don't really know. But hey, look forward to mega versions of Zygarde, which is, yeah, I think that's the 1% version of Zygarde. I don't know, man. It's all so silly. And Mega Zeraora, which is the name for that old heads wouldn't recognize at all whatsoever. I think it's Sun and Moon stuff, but yeah, primal versions, I guess that would kind of be cool, from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I did like those games. Like, being born in 1990, like, you know, Pokemon's kind of my jam. That was kind of the thing that everybody in the school was playing at that point in time, from the card games to watching the anime, and then of course playing the Game Boy games. They were everywhere. For the first 2 generations, I was all in on that stuff. But by the time the Game Boy Advance came around, I never had one, and I thought that, you know, the whole handheld stuff was kind of out of vogue. If I was going to play a game, it was going to be a big, massive, sprawling RPG, and I'd rather play that on a console as opposed to a handheld. How the times have changed, because, well, you take a look at the success of the Switch, but, you know, technology from the late 90s to today has evolved a little bit. But yeah, I basically skipped out on everything all the way up until the 3DS rolled around, and for whatever reason I picked one up then, and I picked up X and Y, and thought that they were pretty decent games, and then fell back off by the time Sun and Moon came out because they were making some changes there. It's like, okay, cool. Instead of making some fundamental gameplay changes, you're deciding to make all of these superfluous traversal changes. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, maybe Game Freak, maybe the Pokemon Company isn't exactly the best at doing the whole Pokemon formula. Maybe it would be more successful and somebody else could reinvent the formula if it was in other hands. And well, Pocket Pair earlier this year with Power World showed Nintendo how to do it so bad and whipped them so thoroughly, ended up in a lawsuit. Like I said, if it was just some leaks about, the potential upcoming skepticism-elated Pokemon entries, it's like there wouldn't be anything to talk about. We need something with a little bit more teeth. We need something that's a little bit more hilarious, if you will. And that's where the other side of these leaks come in. Now, I'm not interested in employee information or anything like that. Whenever there's these big overarching leaks like Sony's from like a decade ago at this point in time, I don't really care. But the insider stuff as to I think that was earlier this year or last year, there was a big Microsoft leak as well, and they were floating the idea of potentially acquiring Nintendo. And it's like, lofty aspirations, my guys. You can barely keep any of your game studios running, let alone buying out the one first-party company that people still have faith in. But the big reason that I caught wind of this leak was because Typhlosion, of all Pokemon to go viral, he's got a cool design, but the starters from Gen 2, if we're gonna level here for a second, they might be some of the most uninspired designs. Gen 1's legendary, Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur for a reason, right? Even Gen 3, I'll, give the devil its due over there. Mudkip was a meme for a very long time. Torchic eventually becomes Blaziken, who gets busted as hell in Gen 6, his Mega Evolution. And the grass one, well, kind of falls by the wayside, but outside of just the novelty of Totodile, Bayleaf, right? No, it's Chikorita, right? Yeah, Chikorita, and then Bayleaf, and then Magunium. Which, Magunium, hilarious. Well, that one didn't go viral because of this leak. But then you got, Cyndaquil, I forget the second stage. And then you got Typhlosion, which that was my go-to back in the days of, I had Silver version because Lugia is awesome and I like fire Pokemon. But for as much as I like Typhlosion, I like Cyndaquil, I like that line, I will never be able to like them as much as some people working over there at Game Freak, because this is where they definitely earn their name. Pokemon's Typhlosion goes viral after Game Freak leak for the weirdest possible reason. Strap in, kids, or in the case of this, strap on. I don't even know where to start here. Yes, Game Freak has been hacked and countless files have been released, which unfortunately includes some personal information about the employees, but it also includes everything from unused concept art, scrapped lore stories from the universe, and one in particular has gone a bit viral. That's the tale about Typhlosion. Yes, third evolution of Cyndaquil, obviously. Fans have discovered some sort of lost lore about Typhlosion, which, well, I don't know. Between this video and another one we're going to be doing today, I don't know how much we can actually get from the source documents without pressing up against terms of service, but I think this is above board. A long time ago, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was unclear, we used to make fun of those people that got a little bit too attached to Pokemon, but apparently the degeneracy starts at home. I'm gonna stop right there. Yeah, exactly, because who looks at Typhlosion like that? That's the male Typhlosion, by the way, because I don't know when they made that differentiation, but the female version doesn't have the fire mane. But you look at that and go, you know what, you know what's missing on that design? My dick in its ass. I didn't really think that we'd end up going down that train of thought, but we're dealing with a Japanese developer after all, and for how base they've been in recent years, it's still Japan. It's still video games. You can still buy panties from vending machines over there. Okay, yeah. But it's even weirder than you might think. And yeah, this is where it gets even crazier. A young girl is tricked into a shape-shifting Bakufan, into thinking that he's a human. Eventually, she apparently has a child with him. Don't try to make that make sense. And she's called his wife, okay? Her father eventually comes and kills the Bakfun, Is it Bakufun? Bakfun? I don't know. And when she returns to the village, she and her half Pokemon child is teased by the men in the village, who at one point cover it in fur skins. That shit's weird. They run into the forest and are never seen again. Here's a particularly nightmarish passage when the father goes to find his daughter. Oh, great. You have broken the branch. Your father will be here soon. Now I am going to do something bad to your father. If you kill me, you can have my eyes, my voice, my heart. Then I want you to build a fire where I was killed and let it burn, and I want you to sing this song until it burns out. The girl said, please stop. You're going to yeet my father. Please stop. You'll get yourself yeeted. Goodbye. We'll never meet again. Somehow a better story than the Acolyte. Many forms of mythology, including Japanese mythology, has animals transforming, into humans or vice versa in order to exhibit some form of trickery. But, ma'am, this is Pokemon. As Zeus did this a lot, for example. And that's wrote large throughout a whole bunch of fairy tales throughout the years. So yeah, specifically Typhlosion is supposed to be based on the mujina, okay, a Japanese badger. Well, that kind of makes sense. Where in folklore is often depicted as a shape-shifting yokai, demon, trickster, monster. And so it's, not entirely pulled out of thin air. But to have it create a half-human offspring, yeah, that's kind of weird, bro. But yeah, after the author, Paul Tassi, who is kind of a goofball himself, reached out to Game Freak, a day later he ended up getting some clarification on what the hell was going on. Thought it would be interesting to find another story about the shape-shifting mujina, with the creepy version of Typhlosion as based. Follows a part of the adaptation of the old Japanese folklore myth, the faceless woman. I don't really need to read old Japanese folk tales that come to the conclusion that some stuff's weird over there. But there was also something I don't know, maybe a little bit creepier about what's going on with slacking out there. Something that would definitely not just get this video demonetized, but also potentially yeeted off all the platforms. Game Freak, man, you guys are really living up to your reputation, and instead of innovating your games, you're just innovating the lore in ways that would even make a Tumblr fanfic artist blush. So Godspeed on Gen 10. Who knows, maybe all those disgruntled fans you'll be able to replace with all of the shipping fans that'll find this interesting and not horrifying. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.